This bad boy here is the Acer Predator Helios 300, an affordable gaming laptop that costs just £1,200 here in the UK, and despite that it packs in some decent features like a GTX 1660 Ti GPU and a Coffee Lake chipset, basically making it comparable to laptops like the Asus ROG Zephyrus GA502 and the HP Omen 15. I mean, the long and short of it is, if you want a dependable gaming laptop that can blast through the latest titles and not skinch you in the process, then this mother hubbard will do the job. But you should definitely still watch the rest of this review rather than just buggering off and watching some more PewDiePie nonsense. And for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So let's start with the design, and that sleek black chassis is made from a mixture of aluminium alloy and plastic. For a gaming machine, it is relatively slender. There's no issues whatsoever smashing it into just a standard size backpack. And at 2.4 kilograms, it ain't exactly too hefty either. I had absolutely no problems lugging this thing around all day long, and I'm a pathetic man-child with less meat on me than a chicken nugget. As usual, Acer hasn't gone over the top with any wanky design nonsense either. You do have that obligatory LED logo on the lid, of course, as usual, and a bit of angular corner action just to set the laptop apart, while the keyboard could also be illuminated with a rainbow of candy floss colours if you like. But beyond that, it is a relatively restrained finish. And you've got a pretty respectable selection of ports there on the relatively slender chassis as well. You've got a choice of HDMI and DisplayPort to hook up a monitor, or you can use both at once to connect two monitors if that's your bag. You also get three full-size 3.0 USB ports and a single Type-C 3.1 port as well, plus a tasty slice of Ethernet if your Wi-Fi is a bit balls. As for that screen, well, it's a 15.6-inch IPS panel, and at this sort of price point, it's really hard to have any kind of qualms with it. It's a full HD display, of course. You don't get any 4K or HDR sexiness to speak of, as you'd kind of expect at this price point, but you do still get respectable levels of detail while you're gaming. And of course, there's a 144Hz refresh rate, just like basically every other gaming laptop these days, to keep the visuals as smooth as a freshly born human being's posterior. The Predator Helios 300's display is reasonably bright as well compared with some rivals. It maxes out at around the 325 to 330 nits mark, and I had no problem gaming even in bright rooms thanks to that anti-glare surfacing, although of course, as usual, playing outside threw up the usual squinty issues. And you do have very respectable colour accuracy here on the Helios as well. 98% of the sRGB gamut was covered off, along with 75% of the Adobe. Now, the chipset stuffed inside the Helios 300 is Intel's Core i5-9300H, bit of Coffee Lake action, backed by 8GB of DDR4 RAM, although of course, as always, other SKUs are available. I found the performance was definitely on par with rivals from the likes of Asus and HP. Geekbench threw up a single core score of 4,852 and a multi-core score of 16,099, while PC Mark X chucked out a 3,082 score. And when it's time to get your game on, you've got Nvidia's GeForce GTX 1660 Ti GPU stuffed in there with 6GB of VRAM. Now, with the Predator Helios 300 stuck on the default performance settings, I ran my usual benchmarking tests, Strange Brigade and 3D Mark. Strange Brigade consistently spat out an average 29 frames per second score, rather poor to say the least, while 3D Mark also churned out some pretty weak results. No worries though, because the Predator Helios 300 has a not very secret weapon stuffed up its shiny sleeve. And that's the turbo button, which is sat on its lonesome just above the keyboard. Give that a little push and you'll activate the Predator Sense overclocking feature, which boosts all of the performance settings up to the maximum levels, while also turning the 4th gen dual fan Aeroblade cooling tech on full power. And this definitely had the desired effect with those benchmarking results. Strange Brigade now averaged over 150 frames per second every time I ran the benchmark. And with 3D Mark, of course, the scores were much more what I expected the first time I ran it, and at least on par with most of the rivals that I've tested at this sort of price point. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider ran absolutely fine on the default detail settings for that sort of the medium level. It wasn't the silkiest smooth performance ever, but it was more than playable and definitely impressive given the Predator Helios 300's asking price. Online shooters like Kill & Flow also played perfectly well, no stutters or stammers in sight, with a dependable Wi-Fi connection throughout. Of course, with the Predator Helios 300's turbo mode activators, those dual fans sound like a friggin' jet propulsion system, so you'll definitely want to stick on some noise cancelling headphones to block out the racket. Those fans are effective though, no denying that. The chassis started to get a little toasty around the plastic base and bits of the edging around after an hour or so of gaming, but certainly nothing anywhere near concerning, while the internal temperatures reported by the Predator Sense app stayed within those safe boundaries. And from within that Predator Sense app, you've also got complete control over the keyboard backlighting as well. As you can see there, it's a 4-zonal customization system. You can't individually control the backlighting on every single key. And it's also not the strongest of backlighting either. As you can see, we're in obviously a fairly well-lit room right now, and you can only just about make out the different colors of the backlight. Obviously, if you're in a pitch black room, then it shines through and it looks quite pretty. As usual with Acer, it's a very comfortable board to use for hours on end. The keys have plenty of bounce, but the board on the whole is nice and firm. You've got a decent sized layout there. You've got a dedicated number pad. Sadly, no room for any customizable macro keys or anything like that. You only get a shortcut to the Predator Sense app. But on the whole, even if you're going to be gaming for extensive periods, no complaints whatsoever. And even the little touchpad isn't bad at all to use. It's perfectly responsive, though, of course, you'll want to slap in a mouse when you want to do some serious gaming. And I found that I managed to get roughly an hour and a half of gaming on a full battery charge before the Helios 300 gurgled and died. Not too bad at all for a gaming laptop, but of course if you are out and about you'll want to pack the charger as well. Luckily that adapter isn't an absolute slab, so you won't be weighed down. So in a nutshell, while the Acer Predator Helios 300 doesn't exactly offer a vastly different gaming experience to Acer's own Nitro 7 laptop or other rivals around this price point, it does offer very solid, very dependable gaming performance. And of course if you hit that turbo button, you'll be able to blast through any title out there right now. And that's what I think of the Predator Helios 300 after testing it out for around a week or so. As you see, solid all round, very few flaws to speak of. Are you tempted by the Helios? Maybe you've got it. What are your own experiences with it? Definitely slap your comments down below, and please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell as well for more on the latest and greatest tech. Cheers everyone, love you!